Greetings, friends and fellow cigar box guitar enthusiasts. Del Puckett here with good news. This will be a build video. I will break it up into 4 parts because it's going to be quite extensive. This build is for the artist David Crowder. And if you don't know who David Crowder is, I'll put his picture here and some links to some of his videos up in here. I've built him a cigar box guitar in the past, number 60. And I just recently got a call from his tech saying they would like another replica just because they're beating the snot out of this thing. And I guess they feel more comfortable having some few backups on stage. So anyhow, I was like, yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, so this build video will be that guitar. And, you know, so this is kind of my opportunity to really do a good job. You know what I'm saying? And try my best to knock it out of the park. Instead of a swing and a miss. So my strategy is to build 2 side by side. The first one, so that you're gonna have a nice Arturo Fuente box, oversized, upgraded tuners, P90 in the neck position. I'll have a 3-way with a piezo. Gonna have F holes, scarf joints. Boot. So like I said, I'm going to be building 2 simultaneously side by side, and then the best one is the one that I will send off, and then the second best one, which that'll be my instrument. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Let's get started. These boxes are the Royal Salido. How do you say that? They are a little bit thinner than normal, coming in at a whopping 1 3/4 inches. This one here will be just slightly less than 9 inches by 11 inches exactly. Yeah, so I said we were going to do scarf joints on both of these. Now this one here, I opted not to have the seam right here. And so what I did is I measured down, gosh, this was 4.5 inches. I think the next one I'll do 5 inches just to give myself a little bit more margin here. Measure down 5 inches here. And then of course 2.5 inches further on the back side here. So I'll show you the next one here, but look at that neck wood. My gosh, look at the contrasts in it. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And also straight as an arrow, obviously. After you determined which side is going to be your fretboard side, and you do that just by sighting it and then coming to the conclusion as to which side is going to be your fretboard side, you want your scarf to tilt away, the headstock back. And so then I just clamped it to this little jig I made. And this is just a crosscut saw with the right angle for the scarf here. And then this way, I can just run it through this table saw. Make sure you keep your clamps out of the way of the blade. Now I did measure 5 inches on this side and 8 inches on this side. And my cut is going to be a 3-inch cut at the diagonal here. All right, safety first, kids. It's going to get loud. Okay, so we're going to go back and sand it smooth, but what we want is we want this seam to be, it's going to be underneath the fretboard on this one here because I have such a large thing. So all you do is like, here's your cut. You just take this thing and just flip it right over, boom. And so now your seam is going to be underneath the fretboard and the headstock is going to be perfectly unseamless. Now, of course, I'm going to glue some wings on here, but look at that grain. So man, the grain is going to be freaking awesome. All right, if you plan to add wings or ears, whatever they call it on here, to make your headstock wider, do it after you carve the neck, especially if you plan on using a router. The reason being is if you're using a router and you have these ears popping out here, then your router end is going to stop and you're not going to be able to carve this section right here. So I usually carve my neck first and then add my little ears. I always pull out this shiny paper just because it's you know, you don't want to glue anything to the paper because then it just come right off. It's not attached very well. It's just attached kind of in the back. So yeah, so this is trash. And then what I did is I took some of the pallet pieces I had left over and I cut these exact bracings for the inside here. I'm gonna glue those up, and that's gonna make this box extra sturdy. This is gonna be an electric guitar, guys. It's the acoustic properties are not so important as the electric. That's why I picked the P90s. This thing here is just it's gonna be a rock and roll machine. I got my oak pieces inserted and the glue drying. Next, I went ahead and drilled for the jack. And guys, in case you ever thought I was mean, now you know that I could be. Remember that video where I tried to disassemble one of my old builds and I came across some Loctite? And remember that Loctite was so dang good, I needed a crowbar to take that thing apart? Okay, well, I'm going to put that exact Loctite on this guy because this is going to be a touring instrument, and nothing, trust me, nothing is more frustrating than in a live situation and your jack is jacked, you know what I'm saying? So we are going to avoid that at the outset. I'm going to put some of this Loctite on here, and it is going to be Loctite from the beginning. So if in the future, if you're disassembling this particular build and you wanted to take a look at the insides, just know that it's going to be very difficult to take this guy off because of this industrial strength Loctite. You're welcome. So while the glue is drying, I will give you a little bit of the backstory. So if you saw my evolution videos, you saw builds 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, build number 5. Build number 5 was a gift. So this is the backstory. So way back when, I forget how far back, this is probably maybe 2016, I'm guessing, 2016, 2015 maybe. My daughters were in a band called Poema. I'll put a link up here to Poema. And yes, those girls are my daughters. Thank you very much. Very talented. Well, anyhow, so they were in the studio recording, and the gentleman who was their engineer was a gentleman by the name of Nolan Rossi. Super cool dude. Well, he also happened to be the sound man for David Crowder during that time. He was on tour. And so when they came through Albuquerque, New Mexico, I thought I wanted to be a blessing to Nolan because obviously he was recording my daughters, and like I said, he was super talented, just a super chill guy. And I just wanted to bless him, right? So I figured, man, I'll just give him a Cigar Box guitar. Well, so he left that Cigar Box guitar on their tour bus while they were touring. And so sure enough, it wasn't, a couple months later or something, I get a phone call from David Crowder's team asking me if I could build him a Cigar Box guitar. I was like, yes. So that's how I got my foot in the door with David Crowder for the first Cigar Box guitar that he built. The original David Crowder build had these F-hole covers that were made out of I think they're either stainless or some sort of copper. And I do have a couple of these laying around. I had a box full of them here. And a buddy of mine, Kyle Gowan, who lives in Colorado Springs, made up a bunch of these for me. I have some that are green, some that are blue, some that are copper, some that are steel. And so yeah, so that's what we'll be doing next. All you gotta do is just strategically lay these guys out on the box and then cut around the inside here and then cut this out. So this is basically just gonna be a cover over a sound hole. Do you ever wonder, where should I put the sound holes? Yeah, sometimes I wonder that too. And so what I do often whenever I find myself in that situation is I consult with Mr. Fibonacci. Fibonacci was a mathematician, and he came up with what is called he discovered, I should say, the golden ratio, which is this pi number here, this phi. 1.618. Basically, it's this ratio that's built into creation. And you can see this ratio everywhere. You can see it in the human arm. You can see it in the hand. You can see it in people's faces. You know, I don't want to get too all technical. I would encourage people to research Fibonacci and the golden ratio. And then also, if you're curious about these little calipers, you can make these for you know, real cheap, but just some locking washers and some critical dimensions here, and you can create these golden ratio calipers. And so what I do oftentimes whenever I want to be all artsy and stuff like that is I'll apply the golden ratio to my cigar boxes. So in this case here, I might create a quadrant up here in the upper right section, a quadrant there, and then also a quadrant in the upper. And so what I'll do is I'll divide by the golden ratio this in this axis here, and then divide it in this axis and in this axis, and create little quadrants, and I'll put these guys directly in that. Is that going to affect the tone or the sound? No. It's just going to make for a more aesthetically pleasing, more flowy, more in tune with nature and harmonics and the cosmos and the universe. I'm not making this stuff up, guys. You need to go research Fibonacci and tell them Del Puckett sent you. Well, since both of these boxes are going to be the same, I overlapped them and cut them both out at the same time. That's what you call killing two birds with one stone. And then on the back side, not the front side, but the back side, you just spray it around the edges so that you don't see the edges of here when the cover's on. And that's just what you call OCD. Looks like I'm in the band Kiss. So what's better than a scarf joint? 2 scarf joints. Yay! All right, so we glued up the heel. And now we are just waiting for the glue to dry. And then we will put this thing through the router and route the ends and then glue on the wings of the ears. We got them both glued, and we are just waiting now for the glue to dry. Okay, so while we're waiting for the glue to dry, I think I got an idea. I think I'm gonna jam a little bit. You guys ever heard of dotted eighths? It's a delay setting. So if you want to play with dotted eighths, which are really cool, get yourself a delay with a tap tempo. And then you got to learn to count like this. Instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and instead of counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you count like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. And then you do your tap tempo on 1E and a. Here's the example. 1E and a. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a. 1E and a. And then you just play eighth notes. I can do it better. One and up. One and up. One and up. One and up. All right, guys, hope you like these videos. If you do, be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, blah, 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 blah. And don't forget, there's going to be parts 2 and parts 3 and parts 4. And the reason being is because this would be too long of a video if I put it all in one, and I really want to take my time. So, guys, we will see you in the next video. Cheers.